welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
Good.
Okay. Hi, this is Jessica with
Stacy.
And we're here on Turn the Page podcast with Dante Basco. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
So Dante,
You're everything. You're like a quadruple, triple everything threat.
I don't know about all that. I'm just, you know what? I'm just an artist in LA, just trying to stay creative.
I think it's pretty amazing. Your career has spanned decades. I just kind of have to throw this out there. So when you played Rufio in Hook, your character's demise was one of the three that kind of ruined my childhood in the way that, like, I thought, but not in a bad way, but like I thought I was going to get stabbed my entire childhood.
I know there's a certain generation out there. Obviously, your generation. It was like people would tell me for years, and still to this day, like the death of Rufio is like the first traumatic moment of their life.
Yeah,
it was devastating, and so it was Rufio, it was Inigo Montoya, and I saw Princess Bride in the same theater that I saw Hook in, which was this beautiful theater that used to be up the road from the library that had like a balcony and Stacy's looking at me because she grew up in this area and she's unaware that this place existed.
Well, I grew up like the town over, but I was like, there's no movie theater now.
It was the fancy movie theater, but now it's a gym. But and then when Atreyu stabbed Gamorg in the Neverending Story, so I had this crazy fear of being stabbed my entire childhood, but the character was so beloved to me.
Threesome. That's a pretty good threesome.
It's terrible. I've
Never-ending Story. I like it.
I've seen a meme where it was like something like, therapist, tell me where your troubles began, and then there's a picture of Atreyu trying to get his horse out of the swamp of sadness. But anyway, so then like years later, I became a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
And was extremely excited to see that you were involved in that as well. And then when Stacy and I saw you were coming out with a memoir, which is called
From Rufio to Zuko,
we kind of conspired that we were going to do the best we could to get you on our podcast. So thank you for doing this.
You made it happen. Actually, I'm just. The book doesn't come out till November 4th, and you're pretty much one of the first interviews that I'm doing.
So exciting!
We're gonna actually have this be our Halloween special, so that way we can stay current with right before the book comes out. But I feel like with Halloween, I feel like it's a very good time to air this episode because people cosplay as
a lot of your characters.
So yeah, they do. It's it's commonplace now with the onset of Comic-Con being such a buzzword and part of pop culture these days. But I get to see a lot of people's kind of renditions of Hook, of Rufio, and of Prince Zuko, and of Jake Long.
Yes, Jake Long, American Dragon. That's pretty. It's pretty amazing.
So to see people dressed up as your characters, such an it feels like more of an honor than anything, and it's been cool. I mean, ever since back in the day, people were dressing up before we called it cosplay, just for Halloween as Rufio, and I'd always get bombarded with pictures in the mail, and then when social media hit and people send stuff to my Tumblr and that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
My sister-in-law just she wanted, because she's a huge Homestuck fan, and they kind of had like a Homestuck, which is a huge phenomenon of a webcomic. They had a character devoted to you in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Homestuck.
You are a Homestuck.
Yeah, shout out to all the Homestuck trash out there. I'm with you. Actually, Homestuck was my first kind of foray into social media. There's this girl, so I when social media hit, I mean, it was so brand new, right? And no one knew what we were doing. And I mean, I'm of the generation before that, so I was like kind of reticent to even, be less private about my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a Twitter. So I got a Twitter, right? And then very first day on Twitter, a girl named Jean Bean, or her tag name was Jean Bean, was like, you need to get a Tumblr. And I was like, what's Tumblr? Like, I just got on Twitter, and she was like, just going back and forth with me on Twitter, like, believe me, get on Tumblr. You'll have 1,000 followers tonight. I promise. So I was like, all right, cool. I got on Tumblr. She was right. Like over 1,000 followers. Like I literally posted on Tumblr, like, yo, I'm Dante. Like, what's up with Tumblr? And so my inbox got filled up with all these pictures of trolls and Rufio with horns. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then they're like, you have to read Homestuck. And so on Tumblr, I started live blogging me reading this really super weird, odd webcomic called Homestuck, which I guess was one of the early, one of the very first or new kind of like, viral webcomics. And it took, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It literally kept going on and new updates. I mean, over 8,000 pages. It ruined my reading for like 2.5 years because
I could see that.
Not big enough to read a lot of things at the same time. Anyhow, the crazy thing was my Tumblr grew to over 250,000 people following me read Homestuck, which was crazy. And so that was like my first foray into social media. Cut to years later, I became a consultant for the company, and Andrew, who's the creator of Homestuck, and helped them kind of put out their video game Hive Swap, and it's been an adventure. It continues to be an adventure.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about your book? And Stacy had a quick question.
I have several questions.
She does have several
research.
questions.
I'm ready for this.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, how does it feel? So, how this is
you
go ahead.
Touched upon it before about how it feels being part of well-known and beloved franchises like Hook or Avatar. And I mean, you're a narrator and you voice a character in Star Wars stuff. Like, how does it feel to be part of those big names? Is it intimidating, exciting, crazy?
It's all that, it's great. I mean, like Star Wars, like doing Star Wars, right? So like everybody, like most people, Star Wars was my first fandom as a child. And so to voice an original character, just have a little piece of the Star Wars world was amazing to be a part of and to still be a part of. And then I've gone back and I'm doing, narrations for their online stuff. And so to be a part of like the Star Wars family is pretty, just my inner child smiles every time I think I'm a part of that. Being able to create new franchises and new IP and intellectual properties like Avatar, and to see something grow into what it became. I had no expectations of what that was going to be, and it's just like it really blew my mind because it was just it was another cartoon that we were doing, and as an actor we just kind of work and you just work and you never know what has longer lasting impact or and that became a phenomenal hit. I mean, I remember running into Jason Isaacs at Sundance one year in the snow, and Jason, which a lot of us know from tons of stuff, including Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter. I'm a big Harry Potter fan.
So are we.
General Zhao in the show, and he's awesome. And he was like, Dante, man, like that cartoon we did. He's like, yeah. It's like, what the? It was like,
yeah,
because it became this phenomenal hit. We both look at each other like, who the hell knew that was going to become what it became? And when it's all happening, and this is even when that was happening, it was like before social media, really.
Yes.
It starts growing and a little buzz going on, and it's not kids coming up to me, it's adults coming up to me and talking about the show. And I was shooting Take the Lead, and one of the other guys on the set was like, I kept leaving the show to do some voiceover work on the show, and they're like, what show are you on? And I'm like, oh, it's a cartoon for Nickelodeon. It's called Avatar: Last Airbender. And it's like, what? And he starts flipping out. And he's like, who are you? I'm like, the fire dude, like Zuko. And he's like, you're Prince Zuko? It's like, and it's just crazy, like what it became. And you get that feeling like, oh my God, am I a part of like a new Star Wars?
And,
that kind of thing
well, now this comes full circle because Mark Hamill played Zuko's father, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That, totally. That was, the story of meeting Mark Hamill is, that story, I believe, is in the book.
That's
we
really cool.
can't wait to read it.
Oh no, because I saw you could pre-order it, and I was like, "Ooh, there's 2 editions. What? I need both."
There's characters on both sides. The publishing house, like, they wanted to do 2 different covers, and I was like, "That's cool."
It's really cool.
Yeah, so
looking.
you're just doing. Yeah, you're in part of Star Wars, and you're like, "Who am I?" I'm like, for a second, you're like, "Am I? What am I? Am I Han Solo? What's going on?" That kind of crazy thing. But then when it comes to Hook is a whole other thing because Hook is Peter Pan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what Peter Pan is, it's like not even a franchise. It's a fairy tale that has been around longer than anyone on the planet has been alive, and will be around longer than when we're all gone. And so we all grew up with, the Peter Pan, the stage play, the Disney movie. Like, we know Peter Pan, Captain Hook. And then people have always been sending pictures when they go to Disneyland or Halloween, and groups of people dressing as this fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Crocodile.
I say that as I've been
sudden,
Captain Hook before.
She has.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, we will sometimes dress up like coworkers for Halloween, and my boss likes doing like literary type characters, so we ended up doing Disney villains and princesses, and I was like, I'm gonna be Captain Hook.
And she was awesome.
Thank you.
Classic. That's a classic. But then all these years later, that now me, like this Filipino kid, has infiltrated a fairy tale, like a little, Now people just right next to all these characters, you can just have this little punk Tri-Hawk kid next to the group, and everyone's like, yeah, it's just a part of the folklore. It's like, how do you become a part of a fairy tale? That's weird. That to me, I'm always like, that means anything's possible.
Well, I think that's awesome because I was looking at an interview you've done before where you talk about how that character playing Rufio, like, is a first, like, Asian American, like,
representation. Yeah.
And how it's changed from that was, over 25 years ago to now, because you were talking about the director of Crazy Rich Asians, and that's a whole cast, and the industry's changing and being more welcoming and inclusive of all these people. It's great that you inspired that.
Yeah, no one sets out to do anything like that. It just kind of happens, I guess, historically. When John Chu was talking about me in certain ways, where he's talking about representation and his first feeling of representation in Hollywood, and the possibility was Rufio in the movie. Since then, we became really good friends, and very, very supportive and a part of the conversations, which became Crazy Rich Asians and all the things that we're all doing, individually in the future. So, it's just, I'm proud to be, looked at as, I don't know, pioneer of some sort, but, I still feel like a kid. I'm still a lost boy.
I think we all, we just, Stacey just had me watch something when you were doing a boy band.
The Try Guys Music Challenge.
That was hilarious.
It was awesome.
Because I was looking at your Wikipedia page of stuff, and I was like, wait, he did part of a Try Guys thing? Because I watched them, and I've followed them since BuzzFeed. And I was just like, oh my God, I need to see this. And that you had some of the other actors. I was like, oh, this is the best. I was like, I hope they win. I hope they win. Spoiler alert, people, they win. But I was just
the Try Guys are great. I met the Try Guys because, Eugene dressed up as Rufio for Halloween.
I didn't know that.
Google it.
I'm going to. Stacey's Googling it right now.
He's one of the best Rufio cosplays of all time. He's fabulous anyway, but it was a pretty fabulous Rufio.
So that was that was super fun.
Whoa.
And she's enjoying this picture right now.
No, that's That's intense. That's a good.
That is a good costume. Wow.
Kudos to you,
rendition.
Eugene. Yeah.
So how did it come that you decided you were going to write this book? Where did did you decide? Did somebody come to you and ask you to write a memoir?
No, I did not decide to write this book. What happened was Daniel Lisi, who's one of the publisher,
who's been amazing in connecting us, by the way. I have to give a shout out to him because I think like I kind of was like, hey, can we do this? And then I'm like, can we? And then he's like, oh, okay, we'll do this. So shout out to him.
And Daniel created, amongst other things, we've collaborated in the past, but he started his publishing house, Not Occult Media, which is an amazing indie publishing house. And he approached me about doing a book. And at first I thought, I was like, you want me to do a poetry book? Because I've released poetry book, and I've been pretty, prominent in the poetry scene.
You do slam poetry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm one of the co-founders of one of the, if not the biggest, one of the biggest poetry venues in the country called DPO, the Poetry Lounge.
Cool.
And
Nice.
And so I thought, it's like, do you want me to do another poetry book? He goes, no, I want your story, your life story. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm still I'm a young veteran. I'm a veteran of the industry over 30 years, but I'm like, I'm still pretty young to write like a memoirs book or an autobiography or memoirs. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm still working, Daniel. Like, I can't tell all these stories. I'm still gonna meet with these people. But he was really adamant about, no, like, we really want a perspective of Hollywood from an Asian American perspective, and like, you're the guy we all grew up with, so we want your story. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And so I said, yeah. And of course you say yeah, and then you sit down to write your story of your life, and you're like so freaked out, missing all kinds of deadlines. It's hard to confront your own life, to look at your stuff, because when you're in the this industry, but like everybody in life, it's like, but especially here in Hollywood, it's like, if you're here for over a decade or so, and I've been here over 3 decades now, we all have our own true Hollywood story,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that you want to do some fanfare and tell some cool stories about all the projects people want to hear about. But then there's also darker sides of the industry over the years that has affected me personally and my family. And my whole impetus of doing it was like trying to offer some sort of blueprint to the next generation of actors coming to Hollywood, to learn from your mistakes, especially people of color like myself. And it's like, me and my family came not knowing anybody. And so, which is really exciting and fun, but also you tend to make a lot of mistakes. And so hopefully the next generation, you're always going to make mistakes, but maybe you can learn from a few of my mistakes.
Yeah, so to try to prevent that from rehappening. But like, as you said, you were kind of like a pioneer for this.
Yeah. And it's, it's also like to my family, because my story is, my family story. We're all actors, we're all artists, and we all came together, and everybody's successful in their own right. And really it's a lot of it's a shared experience.
I think also just with you were talking about social media before, the experience is just would you say different?
As far as
just being an actor, like do you feel that there's just I mean, obviously you got on social media and then everyone's like, get on Tumblr, but do you think like documenting your daily life is there's more demand of that? Obviously, like now with social media, people can tweet out to their fans,
Yeah. I mean, the world's changed. I mean, the whole paradigm, it's been a paradigm shift in the world altogether. And it's just been seen more, because at least for me in my industry, where there's a distinct line between the traditional media age and what's going on in the digital media age. And, there's pros and cons to everything. And it's still really the beginning. Like, it's still the beginning of this whole thing. Think about the it's only been 10 less than 15 years of like real, even 10 years of like real social media happening. So if you think about the first 10 years of television or the first 10 years of film, like that's the beginning. And so we don't even fully understand what it is, what's happening, what's going on, what we're doing, and we're all filling it out. I had a deal with a lot of years with Maker Studios, which they created the first MCN multi-channel network, and they're a big and part of this whole new age of digital media, and they got acquired by Disney. One of the co-founders, Ron Erickson, is my producing partner now, The Machine, a new company. So we're all kind of students of what's happening, and continue to create media. It is different. What you realize is we thought it was all the same thing, but there are actually different forms of entertainment.
Yeah.
Whether it be traditional media and storytelling, and then this more authentic blogging and vlogging of people's lives, and really following individuals for certain everyone has their reasons of why someone's life resonates with them, and it blows your mind. I mean, someone can do a movie for millions of dollars, yet some kid can do a video in his room for nothing, and that video can have more impact than that multi-million-dollar movie.
Yeah,
and it's happening every day. And so we don't even know what all that means or where it's going. It's just we're all students right now and trying to just continuing to create media, and how that intermingles with the financiers of media, which is companies and corporations and brands. So it's interesting. It's the wild west.
It's interesting because like as librarians, I mean, obviously our people think of librarians and they're like, oh, books, you check out books, but
you shush people,
which I don't know. Stacey's laughing
because she's making a face of like.
I spent 16 years in the children's room, and we tried not to shush people because the last thing you want is for children not to feel welcome in their library these days when they have so many other places they could go. Just my thought.
Well, full disclosure, I've gotten kicked out of a few libraries in my life
for being too loud.
For being too loud. And
I'm so sorry on behalf of librarians and libraries everywhere. We apologize.
But also, we were there to go study with the girls after school. So I don't know if we were really trying to library. We were just really trying to socialize.
Well, no, that happens today. Like we're
really. I think that's the thing, though. We're like kind of morphing into community centers. And right. You have to embrace the changes in media and the way things are changing.
I just got my library card back.
Yeah,
and I hadn't had a library card in at least a few decades, maybe 20 years.
Welcome back to library land.
I know. I went to my local library here I live in Beverly Hills at the Beverly Hills Library. I did have a book overdue. About 18 years, which I had to pay a fine on. And that book was From Here to Eternity.
Okay.
I remember checking the book out, and I left it in San Francisco when I was shooting an episode of, I think, Nash Bridges. And I apologized profusely. I think I had to buy the book. I think I owed like $18.
Yeah, it'll usually be something like that. The most, at least to my knowledge of libraries, do is they'll charge you to the max of what the book costs.
Literally, they're like, you still have a book checked out. And I was like,
oh.
Sometimes they'll still do
but
that.
I knew I did. I was like, I know.
You own up to it, so thank you.
Thank you for coming back in spite of that.
Despite having
back in the
fun.
library.
So do you have a preference between
of the covers that you saw? Did you have any input on the covers?
I got to look at them and talk about them. Yeah, they're brilliant. The second I saw them, I'm like, what am I going to say? That's gorgeous. They're great.
To me, it looks more like covers, artwork than a book cover.
Yeah, it really is. I think for sure.
It's art. It's like I told them I need these blown up so I can have them somewhere in my office or something. Seriously, they both look so cool. As far as Preferences, I can't, it's hard to.
How do you choose between Rufio and Zuko? They're both so great in different ways.
I mean, yeah, and they're also very similar in certain ways. They both have a redemptive arc. I don't know. I mean, to me, when for me as an actor and as a filmmaker, it's like fans watch your work and it means something to them because they see that project in their life at a certain time, and it means something to them, and whether that continues to live on for them or not, which is great. But for me as an actor and a filmmaker, it's like the movie or the television show is like just a piece of the memory. You know what I'm saying? It's like I shot Hook when I was 15 for like 8 months, and leading up to that shoot, and then everything after the shoot and the filmmaking, it's like it really represents my my childhood or my adolescence. Like, remember being 15? Like, think about, like, there's a timelessness for 15 for me with that character forever. And it was such a big year in my life for a lot, not just for Hook and Rufio, but other personal reasons. So, I mean, it's your life. And then it's just when you look at your projects, it's like they become not just the art you created, but it becomes like
a part
photo
of
albums of photo albums of your life. So
and in a way, I guess, like Rufio being a lost boy was kind of frozen in time. Like, that character in that time period is frozen.
Yeah. It's crazy. Just the other day, and I wrote a blog about it a while ago, but it continues to happen now. Is I think the blog was like, when you're officially a part of pop culture when people start tattooing you on their body. You're like, right. And so someone just sent me another email like 2 days ago when they tattooed like a big Rufio tattoo, my 15-year-old mug on their leg, their upper thigh, their whole thigh. And people have gotten like this stuff.
That's dedication.
Zuko's cool. And Zuko's cool because the character I voice, and it's just a nice piece of art. Mike and Brian, the creators, they created these great characters, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And then when it's like a rendition of your adolescent face on someone's body, guy or girl. I mean, guys have sent me, girls have sent me. It's just like, okay, I'm with you.
Literally, you are with them.
Permanent.
I'm permanent. Keep that spot clean for me if you can.
No, but that's pretty cool. Because like another thing I was watching is when you did the hardcore tabletop with Rooster Teeth and playing Monopoly. Oh my! I was dying watching that because I'm a huge Monopoly fan. I don't play like my friends do who get like real vindictive and everything. I'm like, I'm playing for my Monopoly. This is what I want this game. And
you're straight up player. But that's what screwed us up. Greg went straight into the crazy rules.
Yeah.
And what happened was I had not played Monopoly for years before that. Since then, I played Monopoly a lot because now I'm back in on my Monopoly game.
Back in the game.
I can't wait if I can get back next year. I have a whole nother. I see my mistakes.
You now know what you're gonna change. But they made your piece. They made it a Rufio piece, which was pretty cool. Did you get to keep that?
No, I did not. It's probably somewhere in the Achievement Hunters Hall of Fame somewhere.
Oh. I think that's but that's another thing, like talking about just how social media and pop culture, watching celebrities and people playing board games. It's kind of nice.
It's become huge.
And as a gamer, I think it's great. It's always, you always want to see people you enjoying things you enjoy.
Yeah, like people that you look up to or follow.
And
it's a new time. Who would have thought?
I mean, my husband and I always talk about how, like you used to kind of like, I mean, not you, but like the general you who used to play tabletop and Dungeons and Dragons, like that used to be kind of like the thing you used to not tell people at school, and you'd hide in your basement and hope nobody else, hope the jocks didn't find out, as the John Hughes movies would suggest. And now everybody's jumping on board with tabletop and role playing and. There's
Yes.
yeah, it's a pretty in that way I would say it's a pretty cool way to use social media.
Totally. I've done a few D&D campaigns recently.
Oh,
What's your
nice.
character? What's your character?
I always play wizards, and I always
really?
I do, and I always play these characters like that are designed to annoy everybody else in my party.
No. Oh, trust me.
I always
You
I want to just
have
be
no
like
candle to a
I
friend of
based a
mine.
character once on Brittany from Daria.
Nice.
Yes, a
Oh my
wizard.
God.
That was like super exciting. And oh my
I'll
god.
usually do like wizard or ranger type stuff. I usually always end up being like half elf something because I'm like, oh, this is fun. But I've played recently with friends, and that was like the worst mistake ever because like half the people took it seriously, the other half were like, we're gonna cause drama and trouble everywhere. I was like, oh my
Yes.
god.
I have twins, and
Oh,
we always talk about how, like, you know, playing make believe is pre D&D, and we have a theory that one of them is going to be like, you know, the hardcore rules, lawful good, and the other one is going to be the one who's just going to go in there and mess with everybody. He's like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not going to go into the woods
That
and
is
the
100%
game
one of your
master. I'm
kids.
just going to go into the bar
be
and mess with
crazy.
people,
I'm gonna go to
mess
the
with the
bar,
NPCs.
slap
I'm gonna
that
open
person in
these
the face.
crypts.
What do
Like,
you?
I'm gonna slap the guy in the face.
Yeah.
Right, what happened? What?
What kind
Why
of?
would you, now we're all fighting. What's going on?
That's what one of my friends did during our campaign, and I was like, oh my god, like I can't. But it's fun.
Can't we talk this out? No.
What kind of characters do you like to play?
I mean, I'm usually the guy with the big sword. You know,
Nice.
damage guy. I like that. I mean, actually, the last one I did a little dragon bread, just so I had a little magic. I like to switch it up a little bit, but you know, I like to have a lot of damage. I like to go and fight.
And I
Yeah.
like to make things go boom, which is why I like
Which is
being,
fun.
which is
I
why I like
usually
being
end
a
up-
wizard.
I'll play more stuff because recently I've been playing where I would just like, I'll just heal everybody. Keep me in the
Healing's
back.
good.
Yeah, that's
You know, it's crazy when we were talking about. I mean, you guys are obviously gamers, and I kind of like got into gaming again through creating a project based around League of Legends, and I became a big League of Legends player. And
that's huge.
but you know, all these other games, but all these other, you know, they're all based on Dungeons and Dragons.
it's
All
true.
the crit,
I love the
everything,
elements.
damage, all the weapon upgrades. It's like, oh my god, it's like it all goes back to D&D. And I just remember like making, you know, these characters with, I mean, like we played D&D when younger. I wasn't like really into it. It was like our nerdy friend down the block, Ruben San Juan, was always a dungeon master getting us to play this. And we're sitting around with college ruled paper trying to create these characters. And I'm like, what are we doing? Just how long can we just play the game? Like, we got to roll forever for everything. We got to roll for every
Yep.
cloak, every dagger. Yeah, I'm like, Ruben, dude, I'm over this. Like, let's just go and start fighting. But then cut to like years later, like every video game that everyone plays now is based on the rules of D&D.
Yeah.
Like crit strikes, crit fails is like all D&D. It's crazy.
What's the?
It blew my mind. I
There's
was like, wow.
it's crazy, just like the span of gaming. Have you ever voiced a video game character except for you've voiced Zuko, I guess, in the Avatar series?
Yeah, no, I've
He's
done
done video
it.
games.
Yes.
I've
Okay.
done the video games. Yeah, I did like a ton. I was like a character in a game called Skate 1, Skate 2 early on, and I've done characters. It said I did a character in Final Fantasy, one of the Final Fantasies, which I'm sure.
There's so many of them.
I did. I mean, I've done some Tom Clancy stuff. I'm around the video game world. I'll pop up. My voice has popped up in the darndest places sometimes.
But
Mortal
it's cool
Kombat.
though because then I was
did one
gonna
of the Mortal
say like
Kombat
I know you
games.
did Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I did Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I mean, I play League of Legends, so hopefully sooner or later I'll get to voice the League of Legends character. That'd be cool.
It's always amazing. Just we were talking about Mark Hamill, how he voiced Fire Lord.
Joker.
Yeah. Yes. So when I
Joker.
found out that Mark Hamill voiced the Joker, and this is embarrassing, I definitely shed a few tears.
He's the all-time. He's one of the all-time. I mean, he's like up there with fans. Like it's like there's Jack Nicholson, there's Heath Ledger, and there's Mark Hamill.
And
I mean, those are the Jokers.
Because it's crazy because he played such, this like this iconic wide-eyed, young boy coming into his powers in Star Wars, and then he plays somebody like the Joker. And I don't know why that just like it really like it hit a nerve, but like in a good way. It's like, oh, he's thriving and he's still creating things, that are so.
He plays my dad.
Yes, and he did, and I definitely that was pretty great. His character became more prominent in like the later seasons, if I remember correctly.
Well, the whole thing when I first met Mark, it was like, I was told like, oh, I didn't even know it was going to be him. It's like the director, Andrea Romano's legendary voice acting director. She's now retired. She's one of the best. I was just in the booth with her, and she was like, oh, Mark's going to come and play your dad. I was like, okay. Mark who? And then it's just like the door opens, and like I always tell the story in a comical way because just my memory of it is like, it was a dark, rainy night in Burbank. The room that we usually do everybody with, but this episode I'm just by myself, and then the door opens and it's like, like smoke rolls into the room, and there's like a guy dressed in all black, and I'm like, that's Mark Hamill. And he just kind of floats in the room, and we do the scene. And if you know the scene I'm talking about when we meet you, it's like the Agni Kai between like Zuko and Ozai, where Zuko gets scarred, and when you find out where this scar that's been on his face the whole time, how it comes, and it's his father scarring him, and with fire, and you just hear these lines like, "Father, no, Father," and what I realized in the moment is I'm doing the Vader Skywalker scene with Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm playing Luke, and he's playing
like
Vader. And it's just like, what? It's like one of the most surreal moments of my life.
Mind blown.
I mean, we do the whole scene, mind blown, and then he just kind of, it's over, and then he just kind of, floats out of the room on
the cloud, the mist,
the cloud, the mist in the room, and leaves, and I'm just sat there. I just sat on a seat, like just flabbergasted and spent, like, oh my God, I just did the Vader Skywalker scene with Mark Hamill. It's crazy. I mean, only in Hollywood. Like, how the hell does that work?
It seems like it's like almost a small world at times, like how you end up interacting and like meeting other celebrities or doing voiceover work with like people that you might not necessarily expect, but it's pretty cool.
It's a great world, man. I mean, it's not something I ever thought I didn't come to town to voice act. It just kind of happened, and it was amazing.
And you're beloved for
a lot of
things,
but I don't know where you were about to go, but I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh, go for it.
No, because I think it's interesting because you played in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but then you also played a role in Avatar: The Legend of Korra. So
I got to play my grandson, General Iroh II, which is amazing because I mean, Mike and Brian, the creators, are they know their fan base, and they love to offer up Easter eggs around. And Zuko's such a popular character, and I became just a popular person in the fandom. To come back and to voice my grandson was pretty hilarious because I was like, "What are we doing? Like, how does the voice transfer to another generation?" Sometimes it does, Dante. Okay, cool.
This is what happened.
This is what happened. But also, it was we're honoring Mako, who passed away when we were shooting, we were taping.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was just about to ask about him. Was it the second season?
Yeah, it was like, ironically, it was like the time. I don't know how the seasons all work out because we did it, how they seasoned it later on was, I don't know. It was different. They did it in books, and we did it over several years. But it was when, it's when they'd send Uncle Iroh to jail, and like Zuko kind of like, was kind of out of it, like, so it was it was a time. So basically honoring Mako and being like, the namesake of Mako, General Iroh, Uncle Iroh, was very touching to me, and I love doing it. So what you gotta understand about Mako, the actor, is he's played my uncle or my father several times in my career. I think 3 or 4 times.
Oh, wow.
At least 3. Yeah. So he's known me since I was 12. And he was someone in my life over the years that I can always go back to, and I would see on set and talk about Hollywood and talk about, Asians in Hollywood and where we are, where we got to go to. He really taught me a lot of lessons. He was Uncle Iroh to me in life. I mean, he started East West Players, which is the longest running person of color theater company in America. We're a theater company I've done plays in, I've written plays in, and he was about, trying to empower the next generation, make it better for them than it was for his generation, and I directly, benefited from that.
He does talk.
So,
I've seen interviews where he does talk about, when he came into acting as an Asian actor, and he's been in so many things. He's one of the most prolific actors in town, and in his passing, he taught me more lessons. The things I'm doing now in Asian American film is directly related to learning lessons from Mako, my Uncle Iroh, about, it's not all about you. It's also about creating opportunity for the next generation, telling stories. And so,
it's like you're continuing a legacy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
cheers to Uncle Iroh.
Yeah.
Yes. Pour one out. A tea of he was a big tea drinker, I believe.
I have water here.
Yeah. But Dante, we want to thank you so
Hot
much.
tea juice.
Yes. Thank you so much for talking to us.
It's been great.
And we here at Syosset Library, we love stories, we love pop culture, we love Star Wars. We have media, and we are very
to the next generation.
And we're very excited to have your book here on our shelves, and especially your voice on our podcast.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited too, and it hasn't been announced yet, but when the book comes out November 4th, I'm doing Barnes and Noble, The Grove here in Los Angeles.
Oh wow!
Oh.
And then I'm flying to New York, and
are you going to Barnes and Noble there?
Barnes and Noble Union Square.
Oh.
Hear that, listeners?
I might be there. What about you,
November-
Stacy?
November 8th. So if you guys
I could do that. I'm
I
not
could totally
giving birth
do that
until December. It's fine.
but spoiler
do
alert,
it.
Stacy's having a baby.
You're pregnant.
Yeah. Spoiler.
Oh, wow. Cheers. Congratulations.
And
you can't see because we're on a voice call.
And by the way, Avatar was one of the first TV shows that I marathoned with my husband when we first started dating. So yes, thank you. Yes.
Well, see, you did that when I first started dating my husband. I was like, "Have you ever seen Hook? It's a great movie. It's got a great cast."
And just the other day,
just
there
shove
was
it
a
in people's
preview for
faces.
Hook on something that my little boy saw, and they asked, they're like, "Oh, can we see that?" And then I went back to myself being like, "Are they going to be afraid of getting stabbed if I show them this movie?"
No, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It really is.
I loved it. Like, that movie makes me cry for numerous reasons. One of them being the scene where
all the feels,
you die.
all the feels.
And then Robin Williams.
Well, no, I like
was
him.
in it.
He's
Yeah.
great. That's not why I cried. I think one of the first times I cried during it was when they're like playing with his face.
Yes.
It's like, there you are, Peter. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yo, that scene, when they shot that scene, it was that powerful. Being on the set, seeing it happen, everyone. Sometimes when you shoot stuff, you just, when you catch that moment, like the air in the room changes.
Oh, wow.
Like literally, everyone there is like, the air in the room changes. And when as a filmmaker, I'm about to go direct my first film.
Oh, that's
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually, after this, I'm heading to table read. I'm flying to Manila on Monday.
Oh, wow.
To shoot in Manila, and then we finished it up in San Francisco. It's called The Fabulous Filipino Brothers.
Oh, great.
I wrote it with my brothers, for my brothers, me and my brothers. So, but like when you're trying to reach for these moments and greatness or whatever, you try to, bring back your past experiences of when you felt, the air change, and you're trying to create the soil for that to happen every day on the set.
Well, this is why I said before when we first started the podcast, you're like a quadruple bajillion threat, because look at everything that you've done and continue to do.
Just influencing us with the feels.
All the feels.
All the feels.
I don't know. We just tried. I don't know. I don't know.
Does anybody ever feel
sometimes you're a jack of all trades? Sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's not really deemed as something great all the time. But sometimes you're just an artist trying to stay creative and express yourself. It all's coming from the same place. I mean, it's really just, trying to be creative and tell stories.
And I think,
I think you're very successful with it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you guys are librarians. I don't know. My sister used to be a librarian.
Oh, really?
We talk about books. Yeah. And so we talk about like books all the time, and then I just read a book called *Sapiens*.
Okay,
fascinating book. But in the whole thing of like mankind and whatever we think we are, whether you're whatever, science or religion or whatever. But what it all comes down to is story. Like story is the thing that has shaped everything. It all comes down to story.
Yeah.
And it's just what stories do we, may believe in, from religion, even science, even our personal things, who we think we are is just a story that we choose to believe in. And so, I mean, you guys are librarians. Like, that's it. Like, that nothing is actually real. It's all just stories. And the power of what that is crazy. And sometimes we forget that everything we think we are and everything we think happened is actually just a story.
I think that's true.
It's very true.
And I think I was going to say before, just in the vein of just, I guess, like being a lost boy, or like still playing tabletop, or still caring about stories and watching cartoons, no matter how old you are. I know that I don't ever feel like I'm an adult. No matter how old I am, I'm like, okay, when you do this, when you cross this milestone, you're an adult now. And I just never feel it. And
you just do sometimes adult-like things.
You have to. It's because you have to. But yeah, I think...
no, but it's always good to keep that spark, that like part of childlike joy and wonder and imagination in the world.
I just never feel grown up. I don't know. I think that's...
But I mean, make it inspirational, Jessica.
What I'm a lost boy. What am I going to say? Never grow up.
No,
bang rang.
It's Thank you so much for once again, and good luck on everything. Yes. And we will be airing this episode when our listeners are listening to it. It will be October 31st,
and we'll tweet at you and the publication
and all of the social media stuff.
All the social media.
All right.
And maybe I'll see you at Union Square.
I am going to be seeing how we can do that. Yes.
I'll just take off work. I don't care.
Sounds like
Make
a plan.
it happen.
All right. All right, Dante, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers, you guys.
Bye.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.